Welcome to a special bonus episode of the Wall Street Wildlife Investing Podcast with Luke and Christoph. We are right here in Europe, waking up to the chaos that is happening over there in North America. Guys, what is going on? We're going to try and break it down for you in a short bonus episode right now.
I feel somewhat safe, being a ocean between all the chaos, but I don't think with these two particular nutcases going at it, anyone feels safe. So immediately, Badger, the first reaction I had is the one I always go to, is that character's destiny. And
hold up. Before you even go there, if someone's tuned into the podcast and they haven't read the news, what the F is actually going on? And while you intro us the story, it's 10 a.m., but I'm probably going to take a hit of my Tesla tequila, which I've got right here, because I need this as a Tesla and a SpaceX shareholder.
Yeah, here's what's going on. There's two gorillas and they're throwing poo at each other. Okay. The first gorilla is upset because I think in this case, Elon, he saw that the big beautiful bill, Trump's big beautiful bill, one, did not cut enough spending, so all his work in Doge was for naught, so to speak. And two, I think he sees the fact that EV subsidies being cut, which is expected, is one thing, but without gas and oil stuff being cut or equalized as another, he feels that all of a sudden he's being treated unfairly. So out of that, I think, sense of disappointment and unfairness, I think he started throwing some poo Trump's way. And then what does Trump do when he gets poo thrown at him, Badger?
He fights back. Now, let's just remind ourselves, right? This is Musk who tweeted on February the 7th, "I love real Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another straight man."
Yes.
These guys, they went from love to break up overnight.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of songs written about this, maybe one by Kanye West, who himself allegedly is extraordinarily heartbroken over this breakup. So let me talk to you.
Hey, sorry, and I bet the All In podcast guys are also quietly backing away because they got their mom and pop, their two best buddies, Trump and Musk, suddenly at war, and they're like the kids caught in the corner.
Oh yeah, that's going to be fat. Oh yeah. Because they can't win. You can't have it both ways in this case. So yeah. I'm so curious how they're going to handle this. Here's what I want to say about the character stuff, Badger, because to me, this is like a kind of center point. I have never liked Trump's character fundamentally. And by that, I mean that I don't trust him because he's a grifter. And I'm going to explain to you why that matters in the future. Elon is, to me, more complicated. I think he's a little bit more evolved in terms of where he draws his character from. But there was this glaring warning signal from some time back during the election time when Sam Harris, whom, by the way, on an intellectual level or on an academic level, I think is also problematic in some ways. But in this case, Sam Harris was saying, look, here's a red giant warning flag about Musk, which is that he's no longer listening to his legitimately close friends, and that kind of bubble that can distortion reality field thing. I think Harris is exactly right about that kind of egomaniac kind of thing happening. So you have two people whose own character is quite egoic, for lack of a better word, fighting, and that just end up becoming this nasty power struggle where I think subtleties and complexities get thrown out the window. If editors can throw up the spiral dynamics graphic.
I'm your editor today, buddy. This is an emergency pod.
Yeah, perfect. So you'll throw it up. This is a fascinating theory, which usually takes hours, days to explain and really learn. But for us, for our purposes, all you need to know is that in order to cultivate and grow as a person, you're thrown into certain world conditions, and certain world conditions require different ways of being. So at the base level, in this case coded beige, right, it's the survival level. If all you're trying to do to survive, you don't care how you do it. You kill, you maim, you're like an animal. So it doesn't really matter. But as you go up the level, you acquire, call it different character traits and attributes. I think fundamentally Trump acts mostly out of the red level. And on the red level, you'll see that this is a level in which basically power is the way you see the world. And you see the world as a power struggle, and the strongest wins. And you don't, from seeing when you see life from this level, you really don't care about things like shame and guilt. You say what needs to be said, and you just try to bop the next guy hard as you can. And you really like, it's not about diplomacy, it's about overwhelming, the other guy. And that's why I mean, this is textbook, this is classic. If you study this theory, Trump's face fits maps onto this level perfectly. And that's why you see him taking any, bullying people by name, and then later having no problems making up with them, because it's not in the calculus to see another human being as, call it, a permanent friend or ally, or that they have any humanity. You just do and say what needs to be said in the moment. Okay, so
And he's got plenty of history of that, right? Like even, let's say, like the tariff chaos and this brand of taco, like Trump always chickens out. Like if you were a Trump advocate, you would look at the behavior and say, well, this is his negotiating tactic. And even with the Elon case, he's gone in super hard, made some like somewhat spurious claims and statements and aggressive positions because he's negotiating in some way, and they're going to end up in like a sensible place, one would hope.
right, exactly. So these characteristics, according to this chart, egocentrism, being exploitative, impulsive, and rebellious, right, match Trump to a T. As you evolve on this, based on this theory, the next stage has to do with religion and following rules very carefully. So that's mostly when people, who evolve from the power struggle, that's when they find God, right? And all of a sudden they they follow the rules. But beyond that, and this is where I think Elon fits, is the orange level, where you subsume all the previous levels, you have access to all of them, but now from the orange level, because everything is about, kind of success, it's success rather than power. You add being more strategic, and you add this notion of individualism and materialism, where basically a lot of scientists fit on this level, business people fit on this level. You're not deliberately like attacking someone in order to like dominate them and beat them up, but you're going to say and do what needs to be done kind of neutrally, right? You're not above playing the game, so to speak. And I think Elon mostly operates from this level, but when met with Trump, Trump kind of brings him down to the red level, and then you kind of have the two gorillas throwing poo at each other again. It's just that in this case, when I say character is destiny, you and I, in half the world or the majority of the world, kind of saw this coming, because if any of this is true, you can't, right? You can't act in these ways and not expect the repercussions that we're getting.
Let's just take a quick victory lap because I guess a bunch of people saw it coming, but I specifically called this out.
Mm-hmm.
We did a predictions episode in December. We made our predictions for the year. And I think we were talking about at the time. In fact, let me splice in the conversation we had. I think that the deficit will increase as opposed to decrease over the course of 2025 by $1, let's say. And further to that, probably the Trump Musk buddy relationship we'll start to see the seams in that. They'll have some sort of spat or falling out on X, no doubt, before the end of Q1.
The drama would be, can you imagine the fire? Can you imagine the fireworks if one sours on the other? My goodness.
So you predicted that Doge was going to save a ton of cash. I said that Doge was going to be net negative to like $1. I do kind of nothing. And then I tagged on my prediction that Trump and Musk will fall out by the end of Q1. So it's a little early by a couple of months, but I'm taking victory on that one.
Very good, Badger. Well earned. Tell me whether all my stocks are going to go up and down next week, and I'll buy some short-dated calls and puts based on your.
Well, we are going to come to specifically like Tesla and SpaceX and what's coming, and we'll make some predictions about that at the back of the episode. So hang around.
Yeah, so I guess for the character stuff, what is actionable advice here? I mean, I don't know. I predict Trump it's not out of the question that this could blow over, because we've seen it blow over in the past, and he just says and does whatever he needs to in the moment. And so it wouldn't surprise me that they become allies again in some sense, right? But I don't actually know whether Musk is capable of that because he now sees, he's being threatened. His businesses are being threatened. So his livelihood is being threatened. And I'm not sure he could just wash it off his back as easily as Trump can. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Spiral schmiral, right? I think these two guys, I don't disagree with you as the intellectual expert on this stuff. And I don't disagree with where you've kind of pegged these guys on your spiral color grading, or even whether that thing is like has any legitimacy at all. What I do know is that money matters to these two characters more than anything else. And so ultimately, that's going to be the decider. They can throw the toys out of the pram and they can like chuck shit at each other on their various social media networks. Like they literally have a social media network each, right? Truth Social and X. Uh, and they can disparage each other. But if there's a dollar in it, then and it's a marriage of convenience, they're going to come back to that.
Yes, we have what, three stocks we need to talk about first and foremost, the obvious ones, right? Shall or four, four. Let's start with Tesla. Overnight, it dropped 16%, which is its largest drop since COVID. So that's pretty major in terms of cataclysmic events, though I think temporary. What's your prediction about how this affects Tesla stock for the longer term?
Not at all. Um, I think this is totally irrelevant. So, like Tesla is such a volatile company, so volatile, not a volatile company, a volatile stock, right? The company just continues to execute reliably, improve its capabilities, more cars on the road, slowly getting closer and closer to like true FSD. Who knows if they'll ever get there, but they're making progress, no doubt. That's the important stuff as a shareholder, but the stock is all over the place and it is definitely driven by like the narrative, the political positioning of the CEO, and all the other garbage and nonsense that kind of spouts. And so we do see these crazy swings on weird news. Again, though, I don't think any of that is material as a long term shareholder in Tesla. To me, like Tesla is overvalued today, even after the 15-16% drop, if you don't believe in FSD. And if you do believe in like FSD and robotaxi, none of this matters and Tesla's going to like 10x from where it is. And so the 15% drop makes no difference either way. They either deliver robotaxi, and we're going to see that. What, we're in June now, 6th of June. Like we're supposed to see something. They've made claims that they're running all, a robotaxi in Austin already. Whether they're really doing that or that's like another Indian AI as opposed to actual AI, like we're going to find out soon.
I have, I think, a slightly divergent view. Not that I disagree. I think mostly you're right. To me, though, Optimus is the bigger prize. So I
Right?
just want to add that. But yes, Robotaxi plus the robot as the future. So everything else is sort of irrelevant. But I do have this sense that this is so weird. The position Elon has put the company into, we know he's pissed off so many liberals that they're willing to throw like the cars on fire. Not great as a brand. I don't care. It just doesn't matter. It's just not great for the brand. But all of a sudden, you know that Trump has a base to which, if all of a sudden he's throwing hurling poo at Trump, there's going to be a not insignificant portion of the other side that won't want to touch Tesla cars either, potentially. So all of a sudden, Elon's like narrowing the band of people to whom it's just business, right? It's just the car. If you, I don't know, rough math, you piss off 30% of the libs, you piss off 20% of the Republicans or the right, that's 50% of the country that you've actually pissed off. Like that's
What about? I mean, like I'm gonna say none of this is relevant, but what about the concept that like my enemy's enemy is my friend, and so like
uh,
there are some voting Americans who are so staunchly like red or blue that anyone who's anti-Trump, like they're a fan of. So there's a sort of narrative boiling away on social media in the last 24 hours. I don't buy this. That this is a deliberate act by Musk to stir up like discontent with Trump publicly so he can realign himself with the liberals and hopefully win back some of his customers. Like, I don't think that's the case because it's such an insane way to do that. But I think that will happen to
this
some extent.
Yeah, right. This is like accidental 5D chess.
Yeah.
So yes, but I'm just saying I don't think the collateral damage in the short term is not nothing. A completely wild new chapter in typical textbooks that you might read about in the future, case study. What happens if you piss off half of the country's constituency on all sides? Long term, I think you're right. You only invest in Tesla for what's coming up ahead, and this doesn't fundamentally change much. So, in full disclosure, I actually picked up, I took a little nibble during the
Ooh.
16% fall, just as a little bit of short term swing. Not material, but
I was tempted. I was tempted. Like, looking at some of the numbers this morning on our favorite analytics platform, FinChat.io. Um, I don't think it's good value though. Like, still, to me, it's in that grey zone of if they don't pull off robotaxi to some convincing degree this year, like maybe not even June, then it's overvalued. Plus, I mean, my allocation to Tesla today, I've got about 4.5% allocation. That's probably a comfortable level.
yeah, I'd say so. I
Yeah,
had sold out mostly, so
right.
for me, this was buy the complete fear and based on long term stuff. Okay, so there's Tesla. Okay, second important company we need to discuss. This is your company, SpaceX.
Oh.
Uh, there's a lot to think through, especially because it's private. What do you think happens? Did anything material happen?
Did anything material happen? Yes, it did. Yes, check out this pair of tweets from the last 24 hours. Trump says on Truth Social, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. And then Musk retorts on X, in light of the president's statements about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Now, that is objectively a disaster for SpaceX and a disaster for America, like the future of the country, because America is so, like, essentially SpaceX is like a critical utility now. There's no way like NASA can get stuff into orbit if they don't have SpaceX. They need either Boeing to sort out the Starliner program, and we saw what a disaster that was, and we've still got astronauts stuck on the ISS, the International Space Station. Like either Boeing sorts it out, or the Americans have to go to China or Russia. Like no one else can put that kind of stuff into orbit, and going to Russia and China are both particularly unappealing options. So, like, the US is backed into a corner. Now, this has de escalated, and some saner voices have perhaps swayed Musk overnight. I mean, probably Gwen Shotwell and the board of SpaceX saying, Elon, like, cool it. This is not sensible for the company. And he's walked that back, I think, this morning, UK time. But, like, who knows where it goes from here. But, like, to me, the bigger risk, I'm like, I'm not making a prediction here, but this would be so ridiculous if it happened. Like if Elon did try and pull a strong arm on Trump, on the American people, and pull SpaceX, it is such a critical utility. It's not out of the question that the state would seize SpaceX and make it like just make some sort of executive action and say this company is like a critical asset and basically like take it away and operate it like
Right.
that
We
could
know.
happen.
See, we know regarding this particular administration that they are 100% willing to do what they want outside the law. So, in other administrations, I would say never, but we're in unprecedented times. Uh, One, I wouldn't want to be an astronaut right now on the International Space Station. Poor guys, they must be reading the news like. But two, do you have any thought on where Bezos and Blue Origin is on this? Could they all of a sudden uh, get a lot of business? But he's not particularly buddy buddy with Trump either.
Again, he's another guy that's driven by the dollar, though, right? He's trying to get Blue Origin up the curve, but they're a long, like decades behind SpaceX.
This could be a little bit of a boon to Rocket Lab as collateral damage of sorts.
I don't think like yes, like we saw a number of space companies including Rocket Lab like bump up 5% plus overnight. But I don't think this is material. Like Musk has walked this back. I don't think anything happens with SpaceX's status as like the preferred supplier, essentially, to the US. But certainly, it's in the US's interest to be able to have other companies they can lean on. So they're going to be chasing Boeing to get serious about their own program, and they're probably going to be giving more and more work to companies like Rocket Lab and Blue Origin and other space startups because they can't be dependent on Musk.
Right. Okay. Pop quiz. Do you know what the last purchase I made for the King of the Jungle portfolio challenge was yesterday?
ASTS Space Mobile.
Yes, indeed. And yesterday I bought it for our community members over on patreon.com/Wall Street Wildlife. My justification was I had exactly $26 to spend left in a month. The share price was basically around 26 then, and I could either market time and wait around, hoping for a better deal, or I could believe in my deep dive intelligence and know that this is a long-term bet. Uh, and so I picked up that extra share. I mention that only because it's fascinating. I think this is another collateral effect. I don't know if you know this, Badger, but the short, the shorts on the short position on the ASTS right now, I think by some metrics, it's one of the most shorted stocks on the whole market. The borrow rate is like all shares are sold at a very high interest rate. So in other words, it's
Let me just get clear, right? So you're saying SpaceX will suddenly have capacity to do other commercial stuff?
I'm thinking this is very bad for SpaceX potentially,
Yeah.
but very good for ASTS. The logic here is a little bit combined, but yes, SpaceX could actually continue honoring its contracts with ASTS just as business goes. But two, just this week, the CEO of ASTS was photographed with Bezos in their neutral. They were they were negotiating deals, and also ASTS has an Indian company. So if SpaceX all of a sudden doesn't work with them, which would be a breach of contract, I believe. So I don't think anything materially changes for ASTS in regards to launching. But what changes is the fact that now all of a sudden you have a president who is attacking Elon and wants to screw SpaceX. Where could businesses take, government businesses take their business? Obviously ASTS, and the stock shot up after hours quite bigly. Um, could be short term, but uh, all told, I think net ASTS is at worst neutral in all of this. And
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're super relevant. Like if SpaceX vanished tomorrow, like something really weird happened, ASTS would be in trouble, right? They'd be
no,
pushed back. They would. They'd be pushed back a long time because they've got no way of getting stuff into orbit.
no, they do. They have all the competitors. They have the India company, they have Rocket Lab, and they have Bezos.
No, they can't. None of those companies can lift. They need Starship. They need like that capacity to put their bigger, like the huge ASTS are trying to put up
Yeah,
like this unfolding thing that's like the biggest
yeah.
thing we've ever put into orbit.
Right. So the next launch is the Indian company, and that's scheduled to take place in June or July.
Okay, all right, I
Yeah.
missed that. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
that's fine. That's fine. So that's what I'm saying. Ideally, because of the mission, because they want to have a lot of satellites, it's not great that SpaceX might slow them down a little bit, but that's small potatoes compared to the massive government contracts waiting to be signed by ASTS with the government. That's kind of the majority of my thesis, honestly, like the whole gold dome stuff. And as a little kernel, for those of you not following this closely, politicians like Ted Cruz were also just seen hanging out in Texas, shaking hands with ASTS, right? That's a Republican in a Trump friendly state. So ASTS is looking really pretty if Trump actually goes ahead and starts being vengeful in the way only he can. So Add that to the sort of short positions right now, and when the market opens, it's going to be a very curious stock to watch how it responds. But long term, this could permanently damage some SpaceX contracts, and those will be captured by STS is my going thesis.
Okay. You said four companies. What's your fourth?
The fourth one is this is more fringe, and this is obvious. I'm sorry to muddy your ears with this, but EOS, and that's because I know.
I'm
Uh,
frowning. If you're on the podcast, I'm frowning at him. How did you get
because
EOS in every freaking conversation?
be,
It's not
I
awful.
know, I know. I'll make this quick. I don't know how. I'm not the expert to opine on this, but if Trump wants to attack Tesla's energy packs and energy business, which is growing stunningly fast at the moment, out of pure spite, out of pure maliciousness, which only he's capable of, then massive energy deployments will need to be redeployed somehow. And it's different ball games, right? Lithium, Tesla makes lithium batteries, EOS has an alternative. But during this particular moment with data centers growing and all these massive energy needs, if even some of that kind of gets screwed by Trump, then EOS stands to also benefit in this way. This is a little, yeah, I'm not hanging my, I don't need this to happen for EOS to be successful. This was not on my bingo card, but it certainly doesn't hurt them being 90%, domestic and all that. And when this kind of shows up, like anything's possible. I don't know. So
Maybe. So let's cap this off with a quick discussion about Elon's pinned tweet right now. And I noticed you haven't voted. So Musk posted on his X last night, is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? And you sent me a screen grab and I see you haven't voted. So are you clicking yes or no to that?
uh, I consider myself a little bit of a centrist at the moment. At
Hmm.
the moment, usually I'm a lib. I'm on the left, but crazy on all sides. So I kind of feel like I've been, narrowed in. I think it will be healthy, legitimately healthy, for there to be more parties and more voices. It's been tried in the U.S. many times via independents and Greens, and it always failed because of I think it's a corrupted system anyway. But if such a thing could be born, then I think I would be in favor of it.
All right, very good. Well, you get a vote. I don't, but I'd be clicking yes if I was a voting American. We need the same thing in the UK, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
what are our key takeaways then, Christoph? Tesla share price might be offering you a bargain if you believe in robotaxi. You've added. If I didn't have a 4+% allocation, I'd probably add myself.
yes,
Probably immaterial for SpaceX long term. Looks like everybody's de escalating. Let's hope so. The childishness is founded in what are those? Your spiral diagrams? What actually are those?
the child, yeah, the levels of development. The childish poo throwing is explicitly level 3, the red level.
And where's that going to go? What can we expect in terms of actual behaviors from these two toddlers?
I continue to expect Trump to do more of that. It's just what he's is, so he's not going to change his character all of a sudden. And I think that leaves Elon with a little bit more ways to navigate, because I think he's advanced beyond mere poo throwing. So I think he'll probably make the best of this that will benefit him somehow longer term.
And then finally, like the big question that we didn't really touch on, but the whole reason this spat escalated was because Musk was chucking doo doo at the big, beautiful spending bill. And then that's kind of set fire. That's been the incendiary thing that's got this whole war started. Like, where are you now? When we made our predictions episode, you said the Doge was going to save $200 to $300 billion. How do you feel about that right now?
I really don't know. And you know why I don't know? This is one of the problems. Like, nobody knows what's in that damn bill, because it's like one of those typical political maneuvers. You try to ram something in for corporate interests and lobby groups and whatnot. Like, who kind of does this thing last hour? I mean, in this sense, I think Elon is right. Like, he's right to say this is like, look over here so that we could squeeze this thing through. And how could I pontificate about it if I don't know? I don't know what the hell is in there, if it's good. Am I supposed to believe all these talking politicians all of a sudden? No idea. My gut instinct says it's probably bad, because that's the trajectory we've been on. Elon, as a citizen, probably knows more about this stuff than most citizens or most privileged parties. And if he's saying it's atrocious and counter to what they've been doing, I will tend to believe him in this case.
And it's nice. I'm pleased that Elon's come over to my side in terms of saying we're probably heading into a recession. He's explicitly called out the Trump tariffs as causing a recession in the second half of this year, which is something I've been saying for the last 6 months plus. And Elon certainly has more insight on this stuff than I do.
Yes.
So if you want to know how Christoph and I are maneuvering our own portfolios to prepare for a potential recession, then go check out a couple of recent back episodes of the Wall Street Wildlife Investing podcast, where we give you the inside track on how we're getting ready for what could be quite an ugly second half of 2025.
All right, Badger. I can't wait for market open today.
Okay, me too. Well, let's get this episode out before market opens. So let us know on the socials if you enjoyed our take. If you want to argue with us, fire away. We're down for it. Patreons, this one especially was for you guys. Looking forward to getting involved in the community and hearing what you have to think about our take on the current Musk, Trump, Twitter, Truth Social war.
All right.
Are you ready to become a beast of an investor? Your journey starts here.
A reminder that the people on this program may hold positions in the companies that are mentioned. Buying and selling stock carries financial risk, which could include loss of capital. The views in this program should not be taken as personalized advice. Before acting on any of the information provided, listeners are encouraged to consult a financial or tax professional.